Hello everyone, it's Friday morning. How are y'all doing today? Hope everybody is good. I wanted to come on for a second because this is something that I am reminded of every single day when I am making my kids breakfast. When I first started my health journey, I really started to look at labels on things. Sorry, my house is like a disaster in the background. So I've got nebulizer here because Cassidy has the flu, and last night she was having trouble breathing. She doesn't have asthma, but she was like very tight chested, and I know exactly how that feels. So we used the nebulizer, and that kind of helped her a little bit. But anyways, so if you see a mess behind me, that's why. It's because the flu has like totally wrecked my week this week. But what I want to talk to you about was when you are looking at products that you buy, that it is very important to pay attention to the label. An example that I have is syrup. Hey, Bronwyn, is syrup. Now, I used to buy, there were a couple of brands that I would buy, and I can't think of the names of them right now, and I probably shouldn't name them anyway. But if you look at the back of the label, it's actually not syrup. It had a concoction of chemicals and preservatives and colors and flavors and different additives. It wasn't even syrup. It was kind of mind-boggling when I first started really looking at labels. Now I kind of find it fun to go to the grocery store because I spend a lot of time looking and comparing labels, comparing prices and stuff like that, and I've learned, you know, what ingredients I don't want in it, and most of the time it's just that you want only a couple of ingredients and no additives or preservatives. So an example I have of that is syrup. This is pure maple syrup. And so what I encourage you to do is go to your pantry now, look for syrup. Do you have syrup in your pantry? Tell me down below what ingredients are on your syrup. Right here, if you look at this bottle of syrup, if you can see that, all it says is ingredient, maple syrup. That's what you want, okay? So it doesn't have any other concoctions or major things. So my kids often will eat pancakes, which I'm trying to move towards higher protein pancakes, but that's a process in and of itself. But I take pride in putting better syrup on their pancakes. Right, Bronwyn. Well, I'm glad to do the investigation work for you. But what was I saying? I try to pick things like this and spend a little bit more money on them. I know that a lot of times what I hear and what I have often thought myself is that healthy food is expensive, but the mindset that you need to try to adopt is looking at the quality of things. You don't want to buy something that's a bunch of chemical concoctions that could possibly cause you health problems because of the things that you're putting in your body. So you kind of have to pick your battles on the things that you want to spend a little bit more money on. Recently, I've had a Costco membership for a while, but I hardly ever went because the grocery store that we have here locally where I live often beats prices everywhere else. Like, you just can't even beat them. But I started doing a little bit of investigating on some of these things that are a little bit higher priced and discovered that Costco has a pure maple syrup that cost by ounce is not as pricey, and I double checked the ingredients and it's the same thing, pure maple syrup. So I have a big bottle of syrup to use after this one. That is from Costco, and so that saves me a couple dollars here and there that way. So I encourage you to try to look at things and don't sacrifice quality for price. And another thing that I did as I started was I stopped, we don't buy as much of the junk food stuff. That saves money there. And then we don't go out to eat as much because I batch prep stuff and have food available for the whole week, and so we don't tend to go through a fast food drive-through or anything else like that. Now, do I have any nut butter fans on here? Even if you watch the recording, comment below, do you like nut butters? Do you like peanut butter? I would love to know what your favorite nut butter is. What I wanted to talk to you about with labels as well is with nut butters. So I have a ton of nut butters in my house right now because I went on a little shopping spree a couple weeks ago trying to find a pure nut butter, and I ended up having to go to Whole Foods, and our local grocery store has what they call a central market, and it's like more organic foods and a lot more foods that have less processing. So I went on kind of a little shopping spree, and so I have This peanut butter is what I find at my local grocery store, but it has in it peanuts, honey powder, palm oil, palm extracts, and sea salt. So it's still good compared to the chemical concoction that I grew up eating. The very popular brands, I know you've seen them. If you look at the labels, they most likely have very little nuts and a lot of chemicals added to them. So take a look at your peanut butter that you have in your house right now. Tell me how many ingredients it has in it. Does it have added sugar? Does it have added oils? Other things like that. Ideally, what you want to do, this one says 100% peanuts. This is one of the ones I found on my little treasure hunt. But if you look at that, it says ingredients peanuts. Now you'll see that it has oil at the top. When you first open it, this one hasn't been opened yet, you have to mix that in because it tends to settle out. Then I also have almond butter, and this one does have cane sugar added, palm oil, and sea salt. And that one I bought in my local grocery store too. I also have sunflower butter, and all it has in its ingredients is simply sunflower seeds. I don't know if you can see that. And then my last one that I have, which is the one that I have open right now, it says peanut butter. I think I got this at Whole Foods. It says just peanuts, no salt added, and or no sugar added, and a pinch of salt. So it has on the ingredients dry roasted peanuts and salt. So you really want to work towards this. Now, let's talk about taste for a second. I don't think my mother-in-law is watching right now, but my father-in-law is a very big peanut butter eater. He likes to eat peanut butter. And so she has been on this journey with me almost from day one, has really been tweaking how they're eating, but he is very resistant to changing his peanut butter brand. And so it's quite funny to listen to him when he talks about her bringing home some of this nut butter that doesn't have as many ingredients. And he sat at our kitchen table one time when we were all eating together and said, I put the nut butter, or the peanut butter he calls it, I put it on my bread, and then I picked up my bread and it fell off. It fell out. I like my peanut butter to stay in my bread. And we died laughing at that. But so he will not bend on his peanut butter, and he says that the peanut butter that does not come in those traditional brands that he's used to does not taste good. So we got a good laugh out of that. It's kind of one of those things that you got to pick your battles. Which ones do you want to push and which ones you don't? So we ended up buying him a big thing of peanut butter for Christmas, and that was one of the gifts that we gave him, and it was the brand, one of the brands that he likes. So it was quite funny, but there is an adjustment phase as far as the taste of these. They do taste a little bit different. So, you know, you may want to kind of move yourself in that direction slowly, but I definitely use these for cooking. So when I'm making something, one of the recipes that calls for a nut butter, I use these for cooking. This is the one that I've been using. So it definitely makes a difference over time when you look at your different labels, what's in it. And you can make little tweaks to how you're eating, and it can make a huge difference in how much sugar you're taking in during the day, the chemicals that you're putting in your body, making things more natural. So I hope that makes sense to you. Another one that I have is applesauce, and I made sure that this one was unsweetened, and then all it has in it is apples and water, and ascorbic acid is what it says. So all of those things, I encourage you, when you are picking stuff up at the store that you have traditionally bought, turn it around and look at the label, look at there's some other, look at and see if there are other options that may be healthier for you, that don't have all the added things, so that you don't get the extra sugar and artificial sweeteners and things like that snuck in there when you're trying to improve your eating. And then certainly pick your battles as far as what you're willing to spend more on, because these do cost a little bit more, but find ways where you can cut out what are the things that you are buying right now that aren't benefiting you nutritionally, and try to cut those out, and then you end up saving money in the long run. So I hope that helps y'all. Comment below and let me know if this is helpful for you and if that you've watched, and then feel free to share if you feel like it would be helpful for somebody. If you like my videos, click the follow button and it will notify you every time I come on live. But I sure appreciate all of you, and I hope you have a great Friday.